Hey guys, Otaku Nate here. If you're curious as to what this is a bonus episode of the show that I asked Brandon to put up on his channel. This is a conversation that I had with one Reira Granger, who we've had as guest on the show twice now, about anime and our views on various aspects of it, like the fandom and our philosophies, etc. I don't know if this will lead to anything, but it's just something that I wanted to try out. Maybe I'll do more episodes like this in the future, but they probably won't be on this channel. For now, I hope you enjoy this conversation. Sig Zeon. 友情で結ばれた熱い絆よ邪魔はさせない我が道行くぜ戦え戦え戦え戦え戦え How's it going, anime fans? This is Otaku Nate here, all by my lonesome. If you are listening to this expecting me to talk about robot combat, you are most unfortunately going to be disappointed, because we are instead going to be talking about the other best sport out there, anime. And with me today, you might have seen her from Bugglebots as part of Splody Boy, and we'll hopefully be seeing her on BattleBots this year as part of Nelly the Ellybot. Please welcome Reira Granger.
What up, it me?
Yes, it is. Yeah, this is our second time doing this because I forgot to hit record. We didn't get too far, though. That's the good news, but...
We got so far. He's lying.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't. So, the way that this is going to work is we're just gonna chat about our experiences in anime, and I've devised a series of questions that both Reira and I are going to answer, and we're going to share our experiences as fans.
We've both had very different experiences with anime as a whole, so it's going to be really interesting to see that sort of divide and see how close some of our answers are or difficult some of our answers are.
So yeah, now we're going to start with the questions that we asked during our first take, which is now lost to time. How long have you been an anime fan, and what was sort of your gateway?
So I started watching anime because I was told about it when I started voice acting in about 2009, 2010. I'd already been a JRPG fan, playing the Shin Megami Tensei series of games, the Persona series of games, but I'd never really watched anime. I started voice acting. Someone told me, hey, voice act for this anime. And I was like, oh, hey, anime is a thing. Now, I've kind of got two gateway drugs, maybe three, depending on what the definition is.
Well, like, what was like the first thing you watched that you sort of, like, what was the first thing you remember watching?
The first thing I remember watching is the absolute cursed anime that is Persona Trinity Soul. If you have any respect for yourself as a Persona fan, don't watch it. I implore you, do not watch it.
I have not.
It's so bad, it's non-canon.
I have not seen it, but all I have to say is if you only have one character from the game returning as a character, you know you're in trouble. Especially when you don't...
You have two, but they show up in the background.
Or, you know, when you can't even have Shoji Meguro doing your soundtrack.
That was painful. Not a single moment of Lotus Juice.
That you do get memories of you in a minor key.
Yay? Question mark? It's exactly what I signed up for this for.
Yeah. It has about as much to do with Persona 3 as Persona 3 has to do with Persona 1 and 2.
Hey, they reference a character once in a scene that you can skip. My first anime I really enjoyed, though, would have to be, I can't quite remember which came first. It would have either been The Idolmaster or Cowboy Beef Bowl. That delicious chili dish.
Cowboy Beef Bowl. Yeah, Cowboy Bebop is, of course, a classic. Many people say that it was their first gateway drug into anime because it aired on Adult Swim. I didn't see it until I was in college at that point, but I can say it deserves every bit of praise that it gets.
It covers everything. It's got action, it's got intrigue, it's got adventure, it's got characters that you genuinely want to know more about and then find out more about. And sure, there are moments which, somewhat fall flat or, beg more questions that never get answered. But, all good writing does that, surely. You want to leave your audience asking questions. And they did that fantastically.
Mm-hmm. Indeed they did. And Shinichiro Watanabe has knocked it out of the park every time ever since. Except, of course, for Terror and Resonance, but we like to pretend that never happened. It's not awful, it's just not as good as his other shows.
It's if you forget it's made by him, then it's really enjoyable.
Have you seen his latest, Carol and Tuesday?
I haven't yet, no. It's on my big old list of things to watch, but no, I have not yet watched it.
I watched the first part of it. It's really good.
I will definitely have to give it a watch at some point then.
Right. So no complaints about that. My experience as an anime fan, or at least rather knowing what anime was, began all the way back in the 2nd grade. Because
Oh, damn.
My mom would drop me off at a friend's house because she taught ballet classes after school. And she would usually leave me at her friend's house, and I would, just hang around, play the old Richard Scarry games on their PC, play their NES, Nintendo Entertainment System, where the only game I knew how to play was Super Mario Brothers, but I would sit on their couch and watch Nickelodeon, and then one day I was sitting on their couch in the living room, and I'm seeing this show where, this monster is terrorizing an innocent civilian, and these girls in these super-powered school uniforms are fighting them, and I'm going,
Is it what I think it is?
In
the name of the moon!
Let me get there. What's this show right here? Because it's not Ren and Stimpy, it's not anything I've ever seen from Nickelodeon. This is something I've never seen before. And it turns out the show in question was Sailor Moon.
What a gateway drug. Oh, damn.
Every day after school at 4 p.m. on the Toonami block on Cartoon Network, I would go and watch it religiously, and I was so mad as a kid whenever I had to miss an episode and I forgot to set the VHS tape for it.
It's such a good anime. It still holds up today. It's so enjoyable. There's so much depth to it, and honestly, like if people haven't watched Sailor Moon out there, don't see it as like an entry tier anime. Like, genuinely treat yourself, go out there and watch it. You will not be disappointed.
And I got made fun of it as a kid. Because all my peers were watching stuff like Dragon Ball Z and Gundam Wing, and I'll just say this now, I was a sheltered child. My parents would not let me watch anything that was rated above PG. Even cartoon violence. Like, they were fine with me watching stuff in, like, Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry and those god-awful Hanna-Barbera cartoons that only boomers seem to enjoy.
Too fucking true.
But I didn't like Dragon Ball Z because I thought as a kid it was too violent. If you want to know how sheltered I was, my parents wouldn't even let me watch The Simpsons.
Oh, damn. I mean, I have a lot of love for DBZ.
Me too.
I really enjoyed it, but it was sort of, it wasn't exactly like I would seek out and watch it. It just sort of constantly happened. Like, DBZ is on. I suppose I'll watch DBZ. And especially when you end up watching all the shows out of order. So we had Cartoon Network stuff over in the UK as well, and I remember quite often watching, here's some animes that I got to watch as a kid as well, things like Yu-Gi-Oh! And the Pokemon anime. I suppose that the Pokemon anime is probably actually the first anime I really watched, but
I would say would you
consider it an anime? That's the question, because it is, but
as long as it was made in Japan, that's what I consider it. I do not consider the likes of, say, Ruby, or Avatar: The Last Airbender, or the Netflix Castlevania series to be anime because they were not animated in Japan. All the production work was done in America.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the animation was done in places like South Korea. Some Japanese studios worked on it, I understand, but if it's done in America, it doesn't count. And yes, I know that anime is a style and not a genre, but still, point still stands.
Saying anime comes from Japan isn't an issue, though, because, things like Ruby and Genlock that are very, very much, anything made by Rooster Teeth, it doesn't detract from what they are by
Yeah.
saying it's not an anime. It's just saying that, I can't remember what I saw it. There was a really fantastic term for it a while back.
Co-production?
No, there was a term for it as like American anime you can call this, and I can't remember the name of it at all.
Or at least anime made in the West, like, Wakfu, which was made in France.
Oh God, Wakfu.
Mm.
Oh God, Wakfu. Oh no, so many memories flooding back.
I just brought that up. I haven't seen Wakfu, I just know about it.
It's certainly interesting. I have opinions.
I won't press you any further on that matter.
We have other questions to get to.
Exactly. So yeah, Sailor Moon was my entry drug. What got me watching was also on Cartoon Network when Adult Swim had their lineup, and I also got TiVo, meaning that once I was in middle school and I was 13, that means I could watch stuff that had more violence in it. Yay!
Yay! Violence!
So, the first anime that I remember watching that I could say was mature on a regular basis was Inuyasha on Adult Swim.
Oh no.
Yeah, no. It's one of those entry drugs that does not hold up all that well on repeated viewings.
I have a close friend who
Inuyasha,
all you have to do to piss my friend off is mention Inuyasha.
Oh.
And there is usually a small tirade of why the fuck is anyone bringing up Inuyasha? That's a piece of shit.
It's not the worst thing ever.
No,
we'll get to our picks for the worst later.
I'm so glad you've put that in as a question. I have some animes I may need to discuss.
Same. But yeah.
What is our next question?
After Inuyasha, I started watching other stuff on Adult Swim, like Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, Trigun.
Trigun. So good.
And, of course, Evangelion, which I haven't watched the Netflix version yet.
Don't.
I'm not a purist. It's just, from what I understand, it seemed like a lot of the faults in the adaptation can be pinned on Kara and not necessarily Netflix.
I feel that the issues with the Evangelion Netflix redo was the fact that they took out so much that was so important to the context. The actual dubbing itself was fine, and the fact that I can now watch Evangelion at the click of a button on my TV is great. But the problem they had with it is eliminating some of the subtext from, the subtitles.
Kara said they wanted a more faithful translation, and apparently they provided the subtitles. Netflix had nothing to do with it.
I have a feeling that some of those subtitles may have changed over time. Something, the gay relationship, something.
Apparently, though, the I Like You Shinji line was closer to the original Japanese from what the people tell me, but again, I'm not the expert on this matter. But let's move on. The anime, though, that really got me to take the next step, though, was when my parents got Netflix, back when it was a mail-in service. And
wow.
The first two things I rented were Interstellar 5555, that's the anime set to Daft Punk's Discovery.
Yeah, nice.
And while I wanted to rent Full Metal Alchemist because it was the hot new thing, I saw this other show that was on there called Full Metal Panic. And I'm like, I'm curious as to what this is. Is this like a prequel to Full Metal Alchemist or something? So I rented it, I watched it, it was perfect. It had everything. You've got your high school comedy, your excellent romantic relationships between our main characters, you've got military intrigue, you've got hot-blooded mecha action, and you've got loads of suspense in certain scenes, and I love the Full Metal Panic series. It's easily in my top 10 for most favorite.
Oh, absolutely. Full Metal Panic is a really underrated anime. Mm-hmm. I feel that it's like you say, it's got quite a lot to it that I just don't think you expect from going in at first glance. It's a lot deeper than it seems as well.
Exactly.
I quite liked that about it. It's been a long time since I've watched it, but it carried a lot more to it than I thought it would.
It's great. The newest series that came out, Invisible Victory, I have never watched an anime series that blew me away so much that I got fused into my couch. it was also another mecha anime. I think it was the first I owned on DVD, called Go Danner. And this sort of shaped my philosophy that the best anime out there aren't necessarily the stuff that's popular. And it's a mantra I hold true to this day.
Absolutely.
So, in terms of, like, your viewing habits, I think that can sort of transition to, like, what anime do you sort of choose to watch? What are your viewing habits when it comes to anime?
So, I have what I call the list, and essentially, every now and again, a new anime will get added to the bottom of the list, and it will work its way up to the top once I've watched through whatever it may be. So, I'm currently trying to catch up on part 5 of JoJo. I'm a huge JoJo nerd. Mm-hmm. But closely after that is oh god, what's it called? The one with it's a very recent anime, and Overlord.
Overlord. I tried watching Overlord, couldn't get into it.
Yeah, so I tend to give each anime 2-3 episodes. I don't like not, giving them more than one. Simply because a lot of my favorite anime, the first episode is never fantastic. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite super obscure animes, an anime called Lovely Complex.
Oh, I heard good things about that.
It's really good, but episode 1 is a bit slow. There's a lot of establishment in episode 1, and that's the problem. They're trying to set up these characters and these dynamics so they don't get enough time to explore them. And I feel like once you get into episode 2, episode 3, Lovely Complex really starts to pick up. Really good manga as well. Would highly recommend. Really interesting art style.
It's sort of like how in Bakano, the first episode is the weakest episode, but, once you suddenly realize what's going on, it becomes a fantastic series.
Absolutely.
Because the first episode of Bakano is the end of the show. Or like how Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is just sort of a reintroduction to Full Metal Alchemist before you get into the proper show. That's my example. My viewing habits, I don't have a list per se, but I've bought a lot of anime over the years that's sitting on my shelf that's been unwatched. It's a case of where I watch whatever I feel like. The most recent anime I finished, because I'd heard good things about it from the mecha community, is Granbelm. Which is...
Ooh, I've not heard of that.
I sent it to you. I sent pictures of it to you the other day.
Oh, yes, the one with the really chibi mechas.
Yeah, it's Madoka Magica, but with robots.
Yes.
And it's one of the better mecha anime that came out in the 2010s, because 2010s were not a good decade for anime. Or no, mecha anime, I should say.
Okay, mecha anime. I was about to heavily disagree with you.
I would not. While I will always contend that the golden age for anime was the 80s, I'd say that there is no dark period for anime.
No, absolutely.
No, it's just a case of you have to know what to watch.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of that is down to personal opinion as well. Like, a lot of really popular shows will be things that I don't enjoy. Mm-hmm. Like, as I said, I'm about to give a try to Overlord just because, like, it's been recommended to me so much.
I can say
I'm not the sort... Go ahead.
Would you believe me if I told you that's the only modern isekai show I've watched?
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't jump onto the bandwagon for things like Kill la Kill. I didn't jump onto the bandwagon. The bandwagon. I didn't jump onto the bandwagon for My Hero Macadamia Nuts. I didn't jump onto the bandwagon for Attack on Titan. Like, sometimes I just, just because it's something popular doesn't mean that everyone's going to like it.
I would probably say the only bandwagons I jumped on were Attack on Titan and Kill la Kill. I was sort of a Johnny-come-lately to My Hero Academia, but like when it comes to the super big shonen series, those are the kind of things I tend to avoid, although I am on the Dr. Stone bandwagon. That show's really good.
The thing is that where I'm such a JoJo nerd, I can't talk anything, so...
Hey, as long as you're not somebody who constantly asks, is this a JoJo's reference?
No, because not everything is a JoJo reference.
Exactly.
Although quite a lot of things are.
JoJo's references are overrated. Fist of the North Star references are where it's at.
Oh goddamn! Fist of the North Star was so damn good. Like
I
I discovered that through JoJo, and I'm glad I did.
When it comes to my viewing habits, I tend to skew a lot older. Not stuff from like 5 years ago or 2 years ago, but more like 40 years ago. Like currently I'm watching this show, Neo-Human Kashan, that came out in 1973. If you've ever seen or heard of Casshern Sins, this is the original show that Casshern Sins came from, but...
Oh wow! Like it's that old?
Well, Casshern Sins, I believe, was 2007, 2008.
Yeah, but the original being
73,
70s.
yes. Yeah.
Oh, damn.
And I gotta say, for something made in the 70s, it's surprisingly dark.
Not surprised. I'm
Well,
not surprised.
It's extremely gritty. A lot of the plans that the villain does, there's an episode where he sends robotic rats into a nearby village to basically steal all of their food. And it's not a case of, oh, he's keeping it for himself. It's a case of where he's trying to destroy their food supply so that the villagers can grovel before him.
Jesus. Okay. Sure thing.
And in the first episode, our hero Tatsuya decides to become the android Kashan. And it's not like an American cartoon. They say like, well, gee, son, I don't know if it's a good idea whether you should be an android, but the day needs to be saved. His parents get down on their knees and say, Tatsuya, no, you can't become a robot. If you become an android, you won't become human again. And Tatsuya says, it doesn't matter. I need to save the day. I want to be a hero.
I kind of like that. I kind of like sort of reluctant hero as a trope is underused, I feel.
Well, the thing is, he's not the reluctant one. It's his parents who are reluctant. But it's really good. Plus, it's from the 70s, so you know it's going to have a bitchin' theme song.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Oh, please tell me favorite opener is one of your questions, because...
I don't have that listed. I think that we'll probably save that for later. But
yeah, sure thing.
That's my viewing habits. I watch whatever I feel like it. You've got the list. Now, when it comes to viewing anime, sub or dub?
I am, with some exceptions, a subs-only human.
Oh, you sub-purist, you.
I'm not a purist. Again, like I said, I voice acted, I've done dubs, and the Persona 4 anime I could have not watched if it wasn't the dubbed version, because when you've played the game, you know, you kind of want the same voices. But I really like my subs. I feel the Japanese voices are just what they are originally intended to. I'm not a purist. I don't go against the dubs. Otherwise, you know, I would have put myself out of business as a voice actress back in the day. But, you know, I just prefer. It's just a preference, I suppose.
They use the cast from Persona 4 the Golden, from what I understand. As opposed to...
So that was only because, I can't remember, I think it was Kanji's voice actor.
Yeah, Troy Baker.
Changed over between the anime and the Golden.
Yeah, he's played by his voice doppelganger, Matt Mercer.
Oh, my baby, Matt Mercer. But I think that was literally just because of availability of Troy Baker. I have no issues with that. And again, Matt Mercer can do a damn good Troy Baker.
Mm-hmm.
But what can't that man do?
He does a really good Strong Bad from Homestar Runner if you're into that series. I can tell you firsthand. Mm-hmm.
Matt Mercer is just voice acting god.
Mm-hmm. As far as sub versus dub goes, I am of the no preference. If the show has subtitles as its only option, I'll watch it. If it has a dub, but I'm not a fan of the dub, I'll stick with the subtitles. But if a show has a dub, and I like the dub, I'm sticking with the dub. That's pretty much my thing, and a lot of people, this is a heated issue, but for me, I just look back and I go, I miss the days when dubs were awful. Because the quality of English dubs has gone up so much since the 90s. Go back and watch, say, the Streamline Pictures dub of the Fist of the North Star movie, or the manga UK dub of the Devilman OAV. The quality of the acting then versus now is just night and day.
Yeah, I feel that the quality of English dubs has leapt up in quality over the last 10, 20 years.
It has.
I don't think that pre-2000s dubs were particularly bad. I just feel that modern technology has meant that we can sync the lips better, and I think that voice acting in the West has just become more and more of it's become more of a career. I mean, when I started voice acting as a kid, it wasn't as lucrative as it is now. I left voice acting due to the fact that it started to become more and more. I left in the sort of dark age, in the late 2010s, sort of 2017, I want to say, was the last time I professionally did anything, because it started to become, oh, hey, we'll pay you an exposure. Oh, hey, we'll pay you an exposure.
Yeah.
2016 was the last time I professionally acted. 2016.
Well, you told me that you were in something, weren't you?
I've been in quite a few things, yeah. I mean, the most prominent anime I've been in, the one that I can actually remember the name of, was Memories, Magnetic Rose. I did all of the Memories acts, I suppose you'd call it, because it's one film with
segments. It's a segment.
But the only one where I had a role that they actually kept in was Magnetic Rose, where I played the station operator.
As I said, I may have to take up Mike Toole on that one. Actually, no, you can ask him. He's on Facebook. Because he does a panel on the dubs that time forgot.
Yeah, I feel the Magnetic Rose dub will have just faded into the ether. So I did it for a company that I don't think even exists anymore. I can't remember its name. I'll see if I can dig out the email.
Is it
We're going
Manga
back
Entertainment?
many years ago. That sounds correct. But a lot of their stuff is just not available anymore.
Didn't know if they were a victim of the anime bubble or not. But yeah, do you have a favorite English dub?
I think it'd have to be between two. The Persona 4 anime, the original, not the golden, was really fantastically done. Like, I could not have asked for that to be done better. It was really enjoyable. Getting the same voice actors from the game, and just genuinely, it just felt really good and really true to the actual story. I just really enjoyed it. And then, pained as it makes me to say so, I think I actually prefer the Sailor Moon dub.
Which one?
The original.
Oh, man.
Yeah, going real far back.
But
yeah, nothing has gotten Tuxedo Mask better.
Not even Robbie Damon in the new dub?
Tuxedo Mask is my boy, and Robbie Damon did okay, but I can't remember who did him in the original dub.
I'm gonna have to look that up now.
To the Wikipedia zone.
I believe his name was Toby Proctor.
Yeah. The original Tuxedo Mask was just so, and it came from that era that we were saying was sort of the less good English dubbing, but
yeah,
it was just so well done. I really enjoyed it. What
do you think of the new dub?
I don't hate it. I definitely don't hate it. It's different, but it's really good.
There are plenty of people who do have a soft spot for that dub. So, as I said, I can't be mad at you, Reira. My favorite dub is one that sort of defied my expectations, and it was for a show that for a while I long considered my favorite TV series for anime, and that's the dub for Black Lagoon.
Oh, good choice. That was a pretty good dub.
Because Ocean Studios behind it, they have a really good voice cast who have been in both cartoons and even live-action productions. It's just that when they dub anime, they often have very bad direction, and as such, the reads come off as being very, very stiff. And not up to par with what the actors can do. But with Black Lagoon, it just shows what Ocean could do with their actors when they're just let loose upon the direction, and they're actually allowed to showcase some more emotions and not just be a slave to the script.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel that any dub company that allows a little bit of creative freedom, a little bit of creative movement,
Funimation,
you're doing that right. Like, honestly, so long as you don't... You say Funimation, my mind instantly gets drawn to some of the darker things Funimation have done, some of the worst things. Yeah, honestly, anyone that gives the voice actors a little bit of freedom to move, it's really nice. Sure, you'll kick up a lot of fuss from, as we mentioned earlier, purists, but luckily, I think that the people who really appreciate anime are the, silent majority. I do fear people doing things like the real dark area of changing the subs to dubs, though.
Oh
And
no,
that's 4Kids.
even before 4Kids, a lot of companies were doing that. I'll send you a link to this really, really bad dub of Captain Harlock.
Oh
From
no.
the 80s, the Ziv International dub, where they dubbed the first 2 episodes just fine, and then the second 2 they said, let's make this a comedy.
No. Why?
To be honest, those 4Kids dubs, the acting wasn't bad, the problem was the editing.
Yeah. Well, some of the acting was bad.
We don't talk about that One Piece dub.
Oh, I wasn't even thinking of One Piece. That's not what I was thinking of. I was thinking of Bandit Keith from the Yu-Gi-Oh dub. That was so badly done.
I don't remember Bandit Keith's voice that much. All I know is that he was voiced by Ted Lewis.
Yeah, unfortunately it came off really stilted and came off with just a bit... If you compare the two side by side, it's just completely different. And I feel that kind of...
I don't know if this is true, but my estimation is that why some parts sound so stiff was that they had to dub this on a week-to-week basis.
Oh, God.
One other dub I will always say is one of my absolute favorites. Everybody talks about the Ghost Stories dub for being hilarious because they just threw the original script out the window and the Japanese company gave them carte blanche to do what they wanted. I would say another show that kind of does that is this obscure 2-episode OAV called Shinesman.
I've not heard of either of these, and I'm suddenly intrigued.
Shinesman is a parody of Power Rangers / Super Sentai, where it asks the question, what if we took the concept of Super Sentai and said it using salary men and women? It's a loving parody of Super Sentai, and the dub only punches up on the parody. It has one of my favorite lines from anime ever. If you ask me, I think she's one OAV short of a series.
Ooh.
That is one of my favorite dub lines ever.
That's really good.
You can find the whole thing on YouTube. It's sadly out of print here in the West, and it's an Aniplex license, so it's not going to be coming back anytime soon. So, that's our thoughts on the sub versus dubs. I have no preference. You skew to more towards subs.
Yeah, not for any particular reason, but just I find myself skewing that way.
On that note, how do you feel about fan service in anime?
Oh, I feel this is going to be an interesting one, seeing as it's we have a very interesting dynamic here where we have one woman on this podcast and one man on this podcast.
Well, you don't like fat anime titties?
I mean, I'm lesbian, so maybe yes, but it has to be tastefully done. Something like High School of the Dead, I'm not a fan of. But something like the Love Hotel in the Persona 3 movies was so artfully fucking done. And especially as I'm partial to animes such as, I believe we mentioned earlier, Idolmaster, which are, rife for fan service, but quite luckily tend to avoid it quite well. I feel that if you're going to do it tastefully. If not, fuck off. Don't turn into here are some tits. Also, there might be a storyline.
My perspective on fan service as a man, because I mentioned Go Danner, and that is a show that has a lot of fan service in it. But it understands that the fan service is just there as garnish, and you're really watching it for the storyline. It's just, given the audience it's aimed at, it's sort of used out of necessity. But my saying with fan service or ecchi anime is that I need more than just boobs to grab onto. I need
grab onto.
I need a good story. I want the characters to be likable. I don't just watch it for, boobies. I want something more. Again, I bring up Go Danner. That show's got girls with breasts the size of volleyballs and in scantily clad skin-tight outfits, but the story and the characters are so well done that I can just put it behind me. In fact, that was sort of my first fan service anime.
The thing is that I think my mantra for it is if I wanted to watch hentai, I'd fucking watch hentai. I'm not
Oh,
here for hentai. I'm here for
well,
watching.
that line is sort of starting to get shaven a lot thinner
It
because
is.
because
I mentioned High
like
School of the Dead again.
High School of the Dead was wasted potential for me, but like to me, just to list some fan service or harem anime that I
Oh,
enjoy.
there's also Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon, which I can never decide whether it's tasteful or not.
Mm,
Because
yeah,
it kind of is, because it doesn't focus on it. But
you're
then
probably
the complete and utter stupidity of Hestia's outfit, that's just not physically possible.
uh yeah, just to give you some fan service anime that I genuinely enjoy, Monster Musume, High School DxD, Asobi ni Ikuyo, or as it's called in the US, Chat Planet Cuties. I hate that English name so much and I want it to die. If it counts, Witchblade, which I enjoy even though it's highly, highly flawed. I don't mind fan service in my anime, just don't make that be the only thing that draws you in.
Absolutely. Monster
Don't be
Musume,
Aiken.
like, Monster Musume, I can kind of forgive for the fact that the amount of goddamn humor in that show almost
Oh,
made me want to watch
the
it.
characters are so good.
I mean, Bird Friend is best friend.
Oh, Poppy.
Yeah.
I lead more towards Centauria because I enjoy her personality.
I haven't watched enough of it to know many of them, but someone showed me Pappy, and I was like, this, I must protect this adorable bird human.
She's high school age, just letting you know that.
This is the problem. This is why, I think this is a major reason why I don't like fan service animes, because 99% of the time, you're sat there. I mean, I do this a lot with the Ruby community as well. The amount of time where I have to remind people, like, you have fun looting those characters that are 14 and 15. You do that. You have
Ravi,
fun over there.
oh, Yamada's First Time. That's another one that I like. That's kind of heavy on the fan service. Oh, I almost forgot. Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid.
I've heard good things about that. It's actually on my list to give a try. So
Yeah, give it a shot. I think you'll enjoy it. So yeah, we've got through the fan service. Now, conventions. Have you been to any conventions in your lifetime?
So I actually used to cosplay professionally as well. For a little while, I did some cosplay stuff with Atlas UK to promote Persona 4 Arena. So yeah, I've been to a lot of MCM Comic Cons in the UK. I've cosplayed as various characters from mostly Persona. I used to be part of the biggest Persona group in the UK. I then did quite a lot of stuff from Idolmaster, and I've even done a handful of characters from more obscure animes. And here's another one that brings us back to the fan service being done slightly tastefully. Back at a Test.
Oh, Bakken Test!
I have cosplayed Aiko, who is probably the most fan servicey character, as she's the one who uses her sexuality to get her way, but in a hilarious fucking fashion. The first time they introduced Aiko as this green-haired, ridiculous sort of, if I mention my boobs, they'll do what I want. It's just fucking hilarious.
On average, I go to 4 to 6 conventions per year. I have my first of the year in February, which is Katsucon. That is down in Maryland on the border of Virginia and Washington, D.C., held in the Gaylord National Harbor, which is this beautiful hotel that overlooks the Potomac.
Yep, a friend of mine goes to this convention as well, so I actually know it quite well.
Yeah, I've got Katsucon. I've been to Anime Next, which is my local convention. I started going to cons in 2006. Conventions were really the only people where I knew people that watched anime because I was lonely in my school. Like, I was sort of the only person who watched anime that wasn't Dragon Ball Z or Yu-Gi-Oh! I was there its final year at the Meadowlands Convention Center. They had so little space to work with, they had to put the Artist's Alley in a parking garage and curtain it off.
Nice.
Yeah, like in one of the garages beneath the convention center.
That's pretty cool.
And a panel room was under there too. Then they moved to Somerset, where the convention was spread out across several hotels. And now down. Now they're down in Atlantic City, where everything is in one convention hall. and they have loads of space to work with.
Ooh, nice.
I've been to that venue. It's very nice. Not so nice if you're a cosplayer, because there really aren't that many spots for photo shoots.
I feel a good convention hall needs a good area for photo shoots. I mean, anyone who's seen photos from MCM London will know that there's sort of this iconic giant shipping cranes outside the front entrance, and you can spot them from a mile off and go like, that'll be from MCM London then. The amount of times where I'll be scrolling through cosplay photos or watching cosplay videos that just happened across my Facebook feed or whatever it may be, and I'll see those giant cranes and I'll be like, that'll be where it was then.
I've pretty much memorized the Gaylord from Katsucon from back to front. The mezzanine level, like the main level for Anime Next, it has some good areas, but the best way I can describe the layout, it's like a shopping mall. Like, you have 4 separate levels that overlap with each other.
MCM does this kind of really interesting thing where I haven't been for a year or two now. My other main cons have just sort of been other sort of smaller UK things like RTX UK. When they had that was fantastic. But all of them used the XL Center, and the XL Center has this sort of interesting way of separating where all of the halls can be one hall or opened up into multiple. So you have this 2 sides of this big, long sort of walkway through the middle, and then you have however many halls are connected together. But recently in MCM, or at least the last ones I went to, they started separating things into, okay, so these halls are where we have all of our memorabilia stuff. These halls are where we have all the shopping stuff. These halls are where we have all the food stuff. And
that's what they do.
Directly separating them.
That's what they do at the conventions here in the US. Usually they keep the dealer's room and the artist alley separate, unless they don't have to.
And also, like, a quick plug, if you want to do something good for your local community, make sure that you go to your artist's alley at the next convention you go to and support local artists. A slight aside to our anime stuff, support your local artist community at your next convention.
I certainly do. So, what's your experience generally been like at these sort of conventions? And do you have any con horror stories?
I have some wonderful stories, but the one that really, really sticks out, I think will probably be my main story to tell because it's a little long. We were doing our first con where we were supporting the Atlas booth for Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. I want to say it was the second one. And I had cosplayed Metis from Persona 3 FES. And of course, the game wasn't out yet, and that was the cosplay I had at the time because she's my favorite character. And the amount of lip I got from passers-by of, well, Metis isn't in the game. Why are you cosplaying Metis on the stall and stuff like that? And I think that was one of the days where I genuinely considered quitting cosplay. I think that's the only real horror story I've got other than, getting lost. I also have fantastic, wonderful stories as well. A really interesting one is I went to take a selfie with my friend. We were about to go and leave the convention. This is ages and ages and ages back now. And I can never remember whether it was Troy Baker or Yuri Lowenthal, but someone popped up from behind us and was like, "Oh, guys, can I get into the selfie as well?" And we thought at first, oh, God, who's this random person with an American accent jumping into our thing? And then we realized who it was. I can never remember if it was Troy Baker or Yuri Lowenthal, but yeah, they just jumped into our selfie and it was amazing. And then many stories of RTX London, when that was still a thing, of bumping into random Rooster Teeth members on the show floor and being like, holy fuck, you're this person that I idolize, but in real life.
All right, I think like one of my fondest convention memories was meeting Nobuo Ishiguro at Otakon 2009. Do you know who that is?
Vaguely, the name definitely rings a bell. I am rapidly Googling.
He is the director for Space Battleship Yamato, Legend of the Galactic Heroes, Megazone 2-3, and the 1980 Astro Boy series.
Oh, damn,
along with the director for Macross. I was lucky enough to go to that convention. I begged my dad to take me because I didn't have a car yet. And we stayed at a hotel that was like a half hour away from the convention.
Damn.
But getting to meet one of anime's most significant directors and having him sign both my Macross box set and one of my Legend of the Galactic Heroes Roman album just made my day. As far as great people I got to meet. I got to meet the staff from Megalobox and Anime NYC. Oh, singing the Getter Robo theme in front of the people from Trigger. That was also great. They laughed out loud when I was singing the Getter Robo theme. Because, of course, Getter Robo was one of their many influences on the shows that they have made. I always love it when I get to meet the Japanese guests. Because, to me, you know, I can just go to any convention where a voice actor is and get their autograph, but when I get to meet, like, the people who actually worked on the show themselves, as far as my worst experience goes, I would probably say I had a bag of stuff that I wanted to get signed stolen from me at Colossal Con. Set it down to play a rhythm game. Looked to my side. It wasn't there anymore. And I have recouped my losses. I managed to get everything that was stolen from me back, but that was just the shit. So I'm assuming have you done any panels at these conventions?
No, so I've never actually done a panel. I nearly did. When there was a bit of a divide going on in the Persona group, we were going to run a panel, a smaller English convention. I can't remember its name off the top of my head, but we were going to go to a smaller UK convention that sort of allows more general panels, because MCM is very strict with their panels. And we were going to run a panel on Shin Megami Tensei games and sort of introduce people, because this was around the time Persona 5 was being announced, first teased, and we were going to sort of tell people of like, hey, you know, if you like the idea of Persona 5, if you've played Persona 4 and 3, you should go back and play things like Digital Devil Saga or Strange Journey, Nocturne. Oh, I don't know if I'd recommend Nocturne to people. That's cruel. That's punishing to them.
One of my friends bought Nocturne because he was curious about the series. He had previously played Digital Devil Saga.
How long till he threw it away?
No, the only thing I told him was, beware the Matador.
Yes.
And
oh, I love Matador so much.
And I was in my car on break from back when I worked at Acme, which is a grocery store in my area, and he called me up, and in this utterly defeated voice said, "Nate, I'm at the Matador." And, of course, naturally, he got the shit beat out of him. But he's pressed forward with it.
I mean, my personal favorite, and the one that I was going to be talking about at this panel, was Soul Hackers. Soul Hackers was damn good. Highly recommend it to anyone who wants a interesting and different JRPG with a very cool story. And
I want to get
really cool characters.
I want to get the 3DS version, mostly because it's got Raito Kuzunoha in it.
Yeah, it does. I would highly recommend the 3DS version of Soul Hackers as well, because that's the version I played.
I have done a ton, and I mean a ton, of panel. My flagship panel is The Best Anime Movies You Haven't Seen, which is a panel, as you might have guessed, on obscure anime movies. I've done one on Gundam, The Rose of Versailles, The Birth, Death, and Rebirth of the OAV, The American Anime Bubble of 2008, Kemono Friends, Death Parade, and Legend of Galactic Heroes.
I feel more people need to watch the Persona 3 movies, so you should definitely shout those out.
I try to avoid things that are based on an already existing series, the only exception being Galaxy Express 3-9.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it, as far as panels go. So how do you feel about the anime fandom, and what do you love or hate about it?
So I do have a love-hate relationship with the anime fandom. And again, this is going back to sort of the representation of women in an anime. And I feel the sort of massive divide between anime specifically designed for women and anime, including in that anime that might not be specifically designed for, but anime that is fair and nice for women. And then the shit like Monster Musume, like we discussed earlier. And I feel that divide is still huge and it needs to be addressed. And I feel that anime gets just over-sexualized quite a lot, like a painful amount. It takes 5 minutes of a character being on screen before there's 1,000 fucking entries on Rule 34. And it pains me because, you know, these characters mean so much more than just their appearance. Especially as someone who's, you know, and I'm a fiction author, you know, I love my characters a lot. But there's this difference between making a female character, sort of powerful and aware of her own sexuality and things like that, and then just a character who is a pair of tits stapled to a 2x4.
So
Whereas on the other hand, the thing I love the anime community for is how much we can come together and rally together in times of need. So the whole Vic McNagnog problem that we had recently.
can we not go there?
Yeah.
It's not that I defend Vic. I had no position in that whole thing. It's just I don't want to talk about it.
Fair?
Simply because of just how messy the whole thing is.
Yeah, I mean, the point still stands that when the anime community is troubled by something, it can rally together very, very quickly. And I like that. I like how together the anime community is, and how, supportive people are of new cosplayers and newbies to the formula, people who've never watched an anime before. I feel that compared to some of the other communities I'm in, if someone turns around to you and says, I haven't seen that anime, nowadays the reaction is, oh cool, you should watch it, rather than, oh my god, I can't believe you haven't seen that, how dare you. I feel that attitude has really spawned in the community, especially over the last couple of years, and it's really nice because it means that when I turn around to someone and say, oh, I haven't seen that, the answer isn't, how dare you not have seen that. It's more, oh, you should definitely check that out. And I like that.
I don't think anybody's gonna be mad at me for not seeing a single episode of, Naruto.
No, same here.
Fairy Tail.
Same here.
Black Clover.
I've watched some Black Clover.
Demon Slayer.
I
trying to think.
Don't even know what that one is. Am I gonna be screamed at in the comments for not knowing what Demon Slayer is?
You probably will.
Oh no.
You'll be screamed at for not knowing what it is, and I will be screamed at for not having watched it.
As I mentioned earlier, I don't like Sword Art Online. I don't like Attack on Titan. I think, Attack on Titan was relatively average. And I mean, a lot of the Shonen Jump stuff I can avoid. I'm not a Naruto fan or a One Piece fan.
Exactly.
But the thing is that I won't stop someone else from enjoying those things. Exactly. I have my opinion on those series, but I won't. If you fucking love Naruto and you want to be the next Hokage, you go for it, buddy.
I watched like 52 episodes of Bleach until I discovered everything else. I like to say it was Legend of the Galactic Heroes that actually killed my interest for Bleach, because I got up to episode 26 of that show, and something happened in there that made me stare at the screen for a good minute and made me go, damn it, I want to see more. Like, it was just sort of that moment where you realize just what anime truly is.
I feel that there's no true formula to good anime, though. And I feel that that's what I like, again, about the community, that, if I turn around to someone and say, my favorite anime is Ayazawa's Nana, but someone else turns around to me and says their favorite anime is, what's one of the more obscure Gundams? But, someone turns around and says,
After War Gundam X.
Sure. Those things could not be further apart in genre and style and everything, but it doesn't mean that we have to disagree.
I find myself in a divide with the anime community, but it's nothing political or moral. It's a case of the casuals versus the hardcores.
And I feel like there's no problem with that as well.
I consider myself to be a 28-year-old boomer as far as my taste in anime goes. I mean, I told you I'm watching something from the 70s.
Yeah, exactly.
But
my anime tastes are older than me.
My biggest problem with fans aren't the ones that watch the popular stuff. It's the ones that watch only the popular stuff.
Yeah.
And don't bother watching anything that was made either before or beyond what's currently airing.
Yeah, if the only things you watch are the top 5 animes on Crunchyroll right now, then I feel
the top 5 anime on my anime list.
Yeah, and I can't stop you. I won't disagree with you, but I like people who have an open mind. Dude, if I suggest something to you, try it, please, because you won't. Exactly. You might not hate it. Just because it's not the most popular anime in the world doesn't mean you're not gonna like it. Give something a go.
The one type of anime fan I absolutely cannot stand are the fans who say they won't watch something because it looks old.
Yikes, like, there's people who say that?
Some of them out there, they exist.
Why?
I mean, granted, a lot of stuff from the 60s and 70s is really gritty, and the animation can be kind of jerky at times. But I think that's also sort of the charm, where you see just how far we've come.
I mean, Magnetic Rose is late 70s, early 80s, I believe?
95.
Oh, it's 90s, wow. And it looks real gritty. But it still holds up. It's fun. It's good to watch. Would highly recommend. Not just because I was in the probably you won't find it anywhere English dub. Yeah, it's on the list. It is on there somewhere. If I find the list, I can tell you what it's in between.
I talk about anime aesthetics. One thing that I can go back and say hasn't aged well, any of the early digitally animated anime from the late 90s, early 2000s. Sorry, but a lot of those shows just look so bleh.
There's sort of dawn of 3D animation as well, where every show had to do something 3D, and it was... I applaud you for trying, but that does not look great.
But my problem is, of course, the casual fans that refuse to watch anything that was made before the year 2000s, or the ones that do not have standards. And I know you're not going to get on people for liking something, but anybody who says that their favorite mecha anime is something like Darling in the Franxx makes my soul hurt.
You see, I take a very strict sort of, I won't stop someone loving something. If you love that thing, you go do you. I'm happy for you. But if the reason you love it is because you've not tried anything else and you have a closed mind to trying other things, then I disagree. So if I'd said Persona 3 is my favorite Shin Megami Tensei game, but I'd never played Strange Journey, I'd never played, Raidu Kuzunoha, etc., etc., then I'd feel bad saying that because I'd never tried anything different. I'd never tried anything outside of the Persona series. And whilst I could say I have a favorite Persona game, a favorite SMT game, if you've never played anything but Persona, feels a bit... I get you. I'll never stop someone loving something, but I just implore people to have an open mind.
It's sort of like how when people say their favorite Gundam is Iron-Blooded Orphans, I'll always look at them and I'll say, hey, have you seen anything from the Universal Century? If not, go and check out the UC movie trilogies. Watch the 8th MS Team. Watch Gundam 0080. There's a lot to love about those Gundam shows.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a basic bitch. My favorite Gundam is Wing. I love Gundam Wing. It was so goddamn good. But, it's not that I haven't tried other Gundam. I've watched all the UC films. They were fucking brilliant.
Have you seen Zeta?
I have not seen Zeta. I just really enjoyed Wing. Wing was fun.
Okay. I plan on watching it. Yeah, my favorite Gundam is 0080, which I wholly recommend. It's the Gundam series for people who aren't Gundam fans.
Oh, nice. Okay. See, I feel just everything needs more Big Zam, so...
How much I would pay for a master grade Big Zam, because I've put several Gunpla kits together.
Nice. I feel like if I ever progress far enough in roboteering, I'd quite like to make, a mini Walker Big Zam.
Hey, you can make a walker and call it Big Zam.
Don't give me ideas like that. Let me build an actual Big Zam. Don't set my standards lower.
Okay, Ryan Beaver.
But yeah, so I feel that we've already covered quite a lot, and we do have very differing opinions, but I feel that that's great because, as I mentioned, with anime fans, we can have this, I wouldn't even call it discourse, we can have this difference in opinions and judgment and it be fantastic. And that's what I do like about the anime community.
As I said, I don't like the fans who are closed-minded, the ones who say newer anime is better than older anime, or the opposite, the ones who won't watch something because it looks old, or, they won't watch something based on the artwork, even though critically it's been a good darling, like, say, Flowers of Evil, for instance. Everybody craps on that show because of the artwork, but if you actually go and watch it, it's actually really damn good. This has been a great conversation, so I think we should get into the finale.
Okay.
With our picks for best and worst anime. What do you want to go first?
Should we discuss worst first? Get the real crap out of the way?
Let's go with that first.
You know what? I'm going to say it, and I'm going to stick to it, and I'm not going to take it back. I genuinely, really, really dislike Sword Art Online.
You're
I
not alone.
tried and
Join the
tried and
club.
tried to watch it. I have a lot of friends who love that show, and I will never stop them loving that show, but it's not for me. It's such a... it's such a show.
A show that spawned countless terrible isekai anime.
Yeah, it's the fact that so much stuff has been done since that they've gone, oh, we could just do Sword Art Online, but insert slight difference here. And it's like, yo, could you not?
Daryl Surratt from the Anime World Order podcast, which I do recommend you check out because it's my favorite anime podcast and it made me the elitist anime shitlord that I am today. He pointed out that the difference between isekai anime then and now is that the protagonists in the older isekai shows, even though they were in this magnificent fantasy world, their end goal was ultimately to go home.
Yeah.
They wanted to get back to their regular lives.
Absolutely,
whereas
right?
whereas in modern isekai anime, it's like, screw getting home, man. I'm gonna stay here with my overpowered weapons with all of these bitches who want to ride my you-know-what all night. I'm gonna teach them how to ride the love salami.
Yeah, just you're literally just conjuring up images of how to pick up girls in a dungeon. It's just nah. And the thing is that I don't hate's a strong word. I don't think I hate any animes, but if I had to dislike one the most, then Sword Art Online can get in the fucking sea.
Sword Art Online to me is the worst type of anime. Well, no, it's from what I can glean, it's just average.
Yeah.
But it's like it's a case where
it's
just
what
because
it's
done. Popular.
That's what I don't like about
exactly.
it. It's what it's done.
And people defend it saying, well, it was my entry drug to anime.
Like, if it being your entry,
standards.
if it's your entry drug, cool beans, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But watch a load more shit, then go back and watch it. And if you still love that, then that's cool. But I've gone back and watched animes that I've loved as a kid and watched them with new eyes and have either picked up on newer things and liked it more or sometimes liked it less.
Yeah, I will concede that one of my favorite anime movies all time, Interstellar 5555, does not necessarily hold up to repeated viewing, but it is still one of my all-time favorite anime movies because of what it did to me as a fan. And it is objectively a good film, whereas Sword Art Online, in hindsight, it just feels like it's an average show. Whereas
I could go back and rewatch the Persona 4 anime and I would not find it any different, in my opinion. Like, I'd go back, I'd watch it, I'd still enjoy it.
My pick for worst anime, I've already hinted that I really disliked Darling in the Franxx. That unholy trinity of Guilty Crown, Aldnoah Zero, and Darling in the Sucks. Those are just three of my picks for the worst anime of the decade, because Guilty Crown, it's the anime equivalent of Oasis's Be Here Now, in that it's just this bloated mess that has no idea what it wants to do, and is more concerned with having flashy action scenes than actually having any depth or meaningful character development. Aldnoah Zero, it's just great value Tesco discount UC Gundam and SPT Leisner that has a passable first season, and then just completely craps the bed in the second season. And Darling in the Franxx is just, ugh.
Yeah, it's decidedly average and just decidedly bland. I'm not a fan of Darling in the Franxx.
Okay. Did you pick up on the homophobia in the show?
I did indeed.
Yeah. It's
the thing is that a lot of anime does have that, but my pick for best anime, there's a big reason for why, and you'll find out. And the thing is that it tackled homophobia in a very interesting way. But that's for my best pick. You'll have to wait for that.
All right. But no, the worst thing I can say that I've ever seen. I've seen MD Geist, which many people say is the worst anime ever made. MD Geist is plenty bad, but it's entertaining. I can't say that there was a moment of MD Geist where I can say, ugh, this is the worst thing ever. I'm just going, oh man, this is bad, but I am laughing.
And I mean, love it as much as I do, it's not difficult for me to pick holes in JoJo. JoJo is probably one of my favorite animes of all time, and there's always holes you can pick.
Well, it's not a case of just picking holes. Like, I love Witchblade to death, and that show is full of holes, but the emotion that's written in that show is so good that I can just ignore some of its many faults. But I would say the worst anime I have ever seen is Mouse. It's the story of a thief named Sorata, who is a school teacher by day, a thief at night, and he's got 2 busty and 1 flat-chested assistants that accompany him on his missions. And you would think that it would actually be somewhat decent, sort of like Lupin the Third meets this 80s show called Cat's Eye.
I'm picking up, like, that sort of noir or detective-y feel always gives me, like, Detective Conan vibes straight off the bat. Like, something as iconic as that.
And then you watch it, and, like, the opening scene, he steals a whole building, and you just ask yourself...
What?
And then
how does one steal a building?
He implodes it.
My brain.
And then it just goes on, and it just gets so much worse. Like, the fan service in that show, you want to talk about distasteful? High School DxD would tell you to tone it down.
Jesus fuck.
Our main character, I think he has bipolar disorder, because one minute he's this awkward school teacher in his 20s that is being sexually harassed by his female assistants, and in the next moment, he is this brave thief who is dominating them.
Oh, God.
It's just the absolute worst. You could say Darling in the Franxx is awful, and it is, but Mouse is just absolutely irredeemable. Like, even Seikon no Quasar, as awful as that show is, it at least understood what it was.
Doesn't try and sell itself as something different.
You're getting into this extremely erotic, exploitive, virtually borderline hentai fanservice show. You get what you get. It's exactly what it says on the tin.
You know what you're getting into. You're watching this because of what it is.
With Mouse, you look at the artwork and you're like, okay, yeah, this is gonna be like a fun Lupin wannabe series with fan service. No, it is so much worse than that, and the manga it's based on is even worse.
It's just a doujinshi with extra steps.
With more bondage.
So should we move on to best?
Yes, let's... It's always darkest before the dawn, and let's talk about our favorites.
I have a top 3.
I, too, have 3, but it's 1 for each medium, shall we say.
So, third, for sort of the impact it's had on me, how much I've loved every minute of it, and just how enjoyable it is, and how I could just go back and watch it over and over again, because I love it that damn much, has to be JoJo. Surprised that it's coming at number 3, but I've just really enjoy how much it splits humor and action and badass characters, so much so that you don't feel bad for really fucking loving the villain. Number 2 would be Evangelion, for how inspirational it's been for me. It was one of my first major animes I watched. It's huge, it's fantastic, it's really special, and nothing quite compares to Evangelion. Nothing compares to the emotions that you go through, especially when you get to the very end of, Evangelion, and the congratulations scene will always make me both laugh and cry. But number 1, my favorite anime, and we mentioned this earlier very briefly, and I kind of wanted to, knowing that this was a question that was coming up, I've cosplayed from it. It references both JoJo and Evangelion, and I have never fallen out of my seat laughing quite as much as watching Baka Test.
Ooh, Baka and Test, not a bad choice.
As I mentioned, when we said about homophobia, it deals with homophobia in a very interesting way with Hideyoshi.
The trap.
No, you see, so that word makes me upset. So that word is genuinely horrible. As a trans woman, like, that word, like, over-sexualizes trans people. It's a horrible thing. Hideyoshi isn't a trap because Hideyoshi is Hideyoshi's own gender. The time when they go to the bathhouse and Hideyoshi goes off to go with the guys, and the guys go, "What? You can't come with us? You're a girl." Because that's the whole joke of Hideyoshi. The fact that even though he goes, "No, I swear, seriously, I am a guy," not helped by the fact that he has an identical twin sister. And then the bathhouse goes, "Oh no, actually, we've got our own room just for you." The third room in the middle is Hideyoshi. I thought that was so well done and so brilliantly hilarious, and it really covers like a lot. And yeah, it's got its stupid fan servicey bits. I mean, it's Mussolini as a character is literally just the representation of all of the people that watch it for the fan service. But it's just so damn funny. And never before have I fallen out of my chair quite as much watching anything but Back at a Test. And I feel I can go back and watch it every now and again, and it still has its charm.
For me, my three favorites are I have one movie, one TV series, and one OAV.
Oh, damn.
My favorite movie is Macross Do You Remember Love? It is a retelling of the Macross TV series, which I do recommend, but fair warning, the animation is terrible, even by the standards of 1983 when it first came out. But the movie Macross Do You Remember Love, it's all original animation, completely redone. They changed some things from the stories. So, like, some characters got better send-offs than they did in the TV series. The soundtrack is phenomenal, and you get the greatest song in anime ever made, Do You Remember Love? It's unfortunate that we're never, ever going to get this show here in America, because Harmony Gold are a bunch of dickwads, and they're sitting on the license, and they won't let anyone outside of Japan use the Macross license.
Oh, that sucks.
Go ahead and look up the whole Harmony Gold Macross thing. The whole situation's just a mess.
I'm gonna definitely delve into that after that.
The only complaint I have about the Macross Do You Remember Love movie is that it doesn't really explain the premise of Macross. It just sort of assumes you know what the premise of Macross is and just throws you in. So you kind of have to tell people what the premise of Macross is. After that, it's all smooth sailing. I mean,
Macross is just a really enjoyable little thing of its own as well. So I feel that, like, introducing you into Macross the way that it did is just, they did it well enough.
My favorite TV series is Death Parade. Ooh. And while I feel comfortable talking about the premises for other anime, Death Parade, I will never ever tell you what the premise to that one is. Go and watch it. It's a great show. It goes through a myriad of emotions. It's funny, it's romantic, it's dramatic, it's dark, it's horror, it's tragic, it's alive, afraid, a lie, a sin, it's magic, it's tragic, it's a loss, it's a win, it's rock, it's noise, it's a bitter pain, it's sad it happened, and it's a shame.
I've not actually heard of it, so I'm going to actually have to go and watch it.
Yeah, don't, read any reviews, don't read any blurbs about it. Go and watch it. This is one where I actually recommend the dub, because I like the main character's voice in that one a lot more than the sub version. And my favorite OAV... My favorite OAV, I mentioned this earlier, it's Legend of the Galactic Heroes. And I once again go back to Anime World Order to this one, because Anime World Order brought it up several times on their show, and I said, Legend of the Galactic Heroes? What on earth is that? And so I looked it up, I saw that it was very highly rated by Anime News Network, so I torrented the series, because nobody would bother to touch it, given how expensive it is to license. And I started watching it, and the first few episodes were good. But again, once I hit that magical episode 26, that was when it went from being great to being a masterpiece. Because Legend of the Galactic Heroes is a space opera. It's the story of a war between the Galactic Empire and the Free Planets Alliance. And the thing that might turn off a lot of people is that it's a show that's very heavy on talking. It is very much a talking heads sort of show. It is also very political, but it's a case where the politics are internalized within that show. The central political conflict is a monarchy versus a democracy. Not necessarily which one of these is better, but it sort of showcases both of these sides have their problems. With a monarchy, you not only have to worry about the Kaiser, but also those who are below him, who are constantly scheming to try and undermine his regime. Whereas with a democracy, it's a democracy. And I'll send you a clip that sort of embodies just what Legend of the Galactic Heroes is all about.
Sweet.
And the battles themselves aren't the sort of, ooh, high octane, ships exploding sort of thing. There's plenty of ships going boom, but it's all about the tactics in the fight.
Yeah.
Ship formation, long-term strategy, and the
really good for your war nerds.
Apparently, the show's original author, Yoshiki Tanaka, he was hugely influenced by naval battles from World War II. So he wanted to introduce a lot of that into Legend of the Galactic Heroes.
I actually have an honorable mention for mine as well, because it comes with a pretty interesting story, but I'll leave that to make sure that you covered all you want to cover first. So keen-eyed viewers might have recognized that my name itself and the fact that I'm a trans woman, etc., does actually come from an anime. Well, more from the manga, but from an anime. And that is Reira from the anime/manga Nana by Aizawa. And so the fun story behind that is that me and a few friends are really, really, really big fans of Nana. It's a really emotional, really heartbreaking. Again, I won't spoil any of the twists, but it really wrenches at your heartstrings sort of anime with this initial premise of like, oh, look at these two girls with the same name. They're going to get on so well. And then both of their lives completely fucking collapsing. And the character Reira is this sort of secondary character who, at the time when I came out as trans, before that as well, I had a lot in common with. I shared a lot of her personality traits and things like that. I've grown up a lot since. I'm not quite the same as she is, but it was a nickname for me before I came out. So when I transitioned and when I chose, this is it, I'm going to come out and I'm going to be me, I was like, well, Reira is so me that it's just my name anyway. So there's your story as to why I'm called Reira. Exclusive to the Hardcore Podcast.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, I think that just about wraps up the show, to be honest. We asked everything we could ask. Honorable mentions of favorite anime for TV series. I'm gonna go with Black Lagoon, because I'm a mecha nerd, Armored Trooper Votoms.
I think some really interesting shout-outs for things that people should check out. I can't remember if they've actually turned it into an anime yet. I know they're intending to, if not. But Magical Girl Apocalypse is fucking hella tight.
I keep seeing the manga for it in stores.
I think they're intending to, and of course, we wouldn't be anywhere without Madoka Magica. Or sorry, Magangster. Everyone Gucci until the one scene. Do people know the one scene from Madoka? Do I spoil that?
I know a thing or two about women in refrigerators.
Everyone Gucci till Mammy's head comes off.
Honorable mentions for my favorite movies. I'm going to go with the original 1995 Ghost in the Shell and Millennium Actress.
I harp on about it enough, but the Persona 3 movies are hot fucking shit. They are amazing. They have music that absolutely slams, and they just encapsulate the game whilst also altering the story enough to keep it interesting to those who've played the game like 20 fucking times.
In honorable mentions for OAVs, I'm going to go with Golden Boy, which is one of the funniest shows ever made, and I think you should watch it. It's really good. And Cyber City 808, which is a cyberpunk action anime.
Oh, I've got to try that.
It was dubbed in the UK.
Nice. And then
if you're familiar with Dark Souls, one of the characters was voiced by the guy who plays Solaire.
Nice. Okay. And then OAVs for me, it's a split between two because I can never really choose, but the Angel Beats OAV is really damn good. And I will always champion derpy fucking Dio in the JoJo OAV.
The original 1990s OAV.
It's so bad, but so good. Dio is just a fucking madman in that. It's just so different to what we now have. Stardust Crusaders is great, but the OAV, go fucking watch it.
I think that's going to do it for this podcast. So until then, I'm Otaku Nate.
And I am Reira.
Peace out, and Sig Zeon!
Congratulations! Congratulations! Congratulations!
Congratulation.